Hello there, and welcome to my guide on how to get your very first Zulrah kills on your Ironman accounts. I will mainly put the focus on Ironman because usually they're challenged with a bunch of constraints gear-wise when it comes to bossing. I will try to be as complete as possible, so hopefully you will enjoy this guide. In my guide, I will go over the more general information on Zulrah like quest and skill requirements, how to get to Zulrah, and what the notable drops are. For the second part of my guide, I would like to focus more on the different attack styles of Zulrah, as well as the other mechanics that you should master before you will be able to kill her. To finish off my guide, I will show you two very basic setups that you could use to kill Zulrah, together with two clips of me doing a full rotation with both setups. So for the quest requirements, you should complete Regicide up until the point that you have access to Port Tyrus. If you want to use the second setup of this guide, you will also need to complete Lunar Diplomacy, as this grants you access to the Lunar Spellbook. As far as skill requirements go, I would recommend having at least 80 plus magic, range and defense, as this will increase your chances of getting the kill. The minimal requirements however are 50 magic to use Iban's Blast in the first method, and 75 magic to have the ability to wear a trident in the second method. If you take a look at prayer, you will see that I recommend having at least 70 prayer. Theoretically, you could do with as little as 40 prayer for protect from ranged, but having a higher prayer level will save you some prayer potions and gives you the ability to use Mystic Might and Eagle Eye to speed up your kills. As a last optional requirement, I have listed 76 agility. This will be to use the shortcut to Salandra, which I will talk about in a second. Getting to Zulrah is fairly easy and can be done by using one of the following three methods. The first method is the use of fairy rings. If you enter the code BGS, you will get teleported to a small island west of Salandra, where you will have to go over a shortcut. To go over the stepping stone shortcut, you will need 76 agility, so if you don't have this, unfortunately you cannot use this method. To use fairy rings, your closest options are the teleport option on a quest cape or the monastery teleport on your Erdouin diary cape. Another method of getting to Zulrah is by using the charter ships in RuneScape. You can travel to Port Tyrus by paying a crew member at one of the docks. Be aware that this will not only cost you money, but also one valuable inventory space of food. If you're struggling in the beginning of getting your kill, my recommendation would be to drop one of your pieces of food in Port Tyrus, revisiting the bank, and pick up your food when coming back to Port Tyrus. It will take some extra time, so if you don't really need to do this, don't bring the extra piece of food and just go straight to Zulrah, as this method will decrease your kills per hour a bunch. The last method is to use Salandra teleports. They will take you right to the center of Salandra, but they can only be used after you have obtained them as a drop from Zulrah. For non-Ironman, you can of course buy these teleports in the GE, but they will cost you around 10 to 12k each. The notable drops at Zulrah probably don't need any explanation. They all have the same drop rate, which is 1 in 128, but I will quickly go over them explaining what they can be used for, in case you didn't already know. The first drop is the Tanzanite Fang, which can be crafted into a blowpipe, therefore making it probably one of the most wanted drop for Ironman. Next we have the Magic Fang, which can be used to enhance the strength of both the Trident of the Seas and the Staff of the Death by attaching the Fang onto the weapon using crafting. Another very useful drop is a Serpentine Visage. If you craft it into a Serpentine Helmet and charge it with Zulrah skills, it can be used during Zulrah kills to protect yourself against the effect of Venom. You will notice that with this helmet, you will save yourself a lot of food and effort during each kill. The last notable drop is the Uncut Onyx. It is most likely the least wanted drop, but still a nice to have for Ironman if you're planning on making Zenite jewelry in the future. Now that we have covered the general information of this boss, let's take a look at the 4 different attack styles that Zulrah has. Generally speaking, you can tell by the color of Zulrah what type of attack she will be using. Of course you can see that there is one exception, which is the Jet phase, but I will cover that one in a moment. So the first attack style can be determined by the color green. We call this the range phase. During this phase, Zulrah will attack you with range attacks and is vulnerable to magic. So best here is just to pray range and attack her with magic. Usually you will find yourself dealing most of the damage during the entire fight during these range phases. Another phase where you can stay clear of damage and attack Zulrah freely is when Zulrah has a crimson or red color. In this case, Zulrah will be attacking you with melee and is also vulnerable to magic. Since you can dodge the melee attacks of Zulrah, you should not use any protection prayers. To give you a better sense of how to dodge the melee attacks of Zulrah, I'll be showing you a paused clip of the position you should stand in when Zulrah targets you for a melee attack. So to successfully dodge the melee attacks of Zulrah, you will have to wait until Zulrah focuses on you, as she will do here on screen. Once this has happened, move over to the tile marked on the screen and wait for her to perform her attack. Then, for a second time, Zulrah will target you again, and you just have to move over to your initial spot, and you have successfully dodged the Zulrah's melee attack. If it weren't for these toxic clouds, I could have moved over to this tile next to the pillar, making me invisible for Zulrah. When you're standing next to a pillar when Zulrah is in her melee phase, she will not see you and you are free to attack her during the 2 melee attacks. For the third attack style of Zulrah, it is worth mentioning that during this style, it is inevitable not to take any damage. When Zulrah turns blue, she will primarily hit you with mage attacks and is vulnerable to ranged. She can however completely random attack you with ranged during this phase, making it impossible for you to pray against these kinds of attacks. So if you're unlucky, you will take a lot of damage here, as it is still advised to pray protect from magic during this phase. Since the max hit of Zulrah is 41 when attacking you with ranged, keep a close eye on your health bar to avoid being KO'd by a big ranged hit. In some of the rotations, which we will see after we have discussed the mechanics, it is possible to hide from the blue phase. Still, I recommend trying to get in as much as possible damage during the skill to speed up your kill and to get used to Zulrah attacking you with ranged. For the last phase, the Jet phase, we see that Zulrah will also be green and you will not be able to distinguish when Zulrah is in a range phase or a Jet phase. Obviously, when you know the rotations, you will exactly know when Zulrah is in the Jet phase, but this comes later on. During the Jet phase, Zulrah will constantly alternate between a magic and a ranged attack. The key to protect yourself from being hit during the Jet phase is to switch your prayer to the opposite attack style as soon as the attack has left Zulrah. For example, when Zulrah shoots a magic attack at you and the attack has left Zulrah, you switch to protect from ranged. You need to keep praying protect from ranged just until Zulrah shoots a ranged attack at you, at which point you will be switching to protect from magic again. By repeating this process, you will not have taken any damage and will be able to do a lot of damage using magic attacks. It does sound a little bit weird in the beginning, but by the means of a clip I will show you what I mean, and it will become very clear that it's not that difficult to protect from once you know what you're doing. So in this slowdown clip you will see how this theory is put into practice during this Zulrah kill. I know that he will attack with magic, so I protect from mage. I'm a bit too late actually in switching to my range prayer, so I take some damage. But in this frozen clip you will see what I was talking about. So Zulrah has attacked me with magic right now, so I can easily switch to protect from ranged to avoid the next attack. So similarly for the range attack, I'm protecting from ranged, the range attacks leave Zulrah and I can switch to protect from magic again and don't take any damage from his magic bolt. So it's actually quite easy to counter the effect of Zulrah in the Jet phase. If you just get a hang of the rhythm and you just alternate between the prayers, you don't take any damage and you can finish off this Jet phase easily. Other than the 4 attack styles, there are 3 other mechanics you should know about where you can potentially get dealt a lot of damage and it will jeopardize your kill if you don't know how to handle these. So first of all, there's Venom. You can see by the green health bar when you're venomed, and Zulrah will regularly during the kill venom you. Venom is actually a type of poison that will increase over time. So first of all you get dealt 6 damage, then 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 and finally 20. If you want to counter the venom, you either wear a serpentine helm or drink an anti-venom, and if you don't have access to these you bring anti-poisons. Just bring regular anti-poisons because anti-poison will not prevent you from being venomed. How you can do this is you use the anti-poison once the venom deals the first damage. So once the venom hits 6, you drink your anti-poison. By doing this you will keep on resetting the venom actually and not increase the venom damage over time. If say for example you have forgotten to drink your anti-poison and the venom has increased say 8, 10, 12 or 14 or something like that, still just drink 1 sip of anti-poison, it will remove the venom and next time you get venomed the venom starts at 6 again. So drinking 1 sip of anti-poison will just reset the venom counter. Next there are the snakelins. Snakelins are the tiny creatures spawned by Zulrah. They have 1 HP and they deal up to 15 damage. It's not worth killing them manually, just wear a ring of recoil and they will die anyway if they attack you and they hit you. I recommend bringing 2 ring of recoils. You might have forgotten to break the previous one, or if a kill takes longer than expected, one of your recoils might shatter. If your recoil shatter, you won't be able to kill the snakelins and they will do a lot of damage and you won't be able to get the kill. Finally, there are also toxic clouds. Toxic clouds, it's very simple, just don't stand in them. They will do a lot of damage if you stand in them. It's tiny damage splats that stack up. Over time it will do a lot of damage, so don't get near the toxic clouds, just don't stand in them and you're fine.
If you don't know at first where the toxic clouds spawn, you will take some damage, you will see. But if in over a longer period of time you know your rotations, you won't get hit by the toxic clouds anyway. So now that you know all about how Zulrah will attack you and all the mechanics that Zulrah has up his sleeve, it's time to know the rotations. Zulrah has 4 rotations and I show them on screen. I found a very useful image. I will link it in the description below. I found this image very useful to learn the rotations. It's very simple. If you don't know the rotations, you will not be able to do Zulrah efficiently. Especially in the beginning, you will take a lot of damage. If you don't know the rotations, you will stand in the wrong spots. You will just don't know which phase it's in. You will not be able to forecast the jet phase. All these type of things will help you in getting more efficient at Zulrah and taking the least amount of damage. I'm not going over the rotations individually. Just take a look at this picture. Put it up on a screen next to you when you're doing Zulrah. It's very simple. The color of Zulrah will indicate what phase it's in. The purple dot will indicate where you have to stand. And the protect from range or protect from mage is actually the first attack style that Zulrah will be using when it is starting the jet phase. Another thing I want to add is actually that this picture is purely theoretical. I personally tend to hog the pillars a bit more. In this picture you will see that he tends to move to the end of the shrine a bit more. You just use this picture as a frame of reference where you should stand on the shrine, how Zulrah will alternate between different phases, what phase chat will start in. Also a little tip is if you're using the first setup of this guide or just a low defense setup or you're not that familiar with Zulrah, my personal preference goes to the third rotation. It's the easiest one in my opinion. You have a lot of green phases, so you can do a lot of damage. At one point you can also avoid one of the blue phases. So personally I found this the easiest way to kill Zulrah. Just a personal preference, just a tip if you're starting out. This might perhaps get to know you with the other mechanics as well, so it makes it a bit more easy. But in the end it just boils down to knowing all the rotations, knowing what phase chat will start in, know the rotations, learn them, and you will be able to do Zulrah efficiently in the end. Now the only thing that rests us before looking at some Zulrah kills is talking about the setups. I've chosen 2 setups that I found that you can kill Zulrah with at a lower level. My first setup that I will talk about is the one that I call the welfare gear. You will see that I've taken very low defense bonus gear. I've taken full mystics, a magic cape, wizard boots, barrow's gloves. I've taken the staff of Ivan. You can upgrade it in Western Ardoin so that it holds 2.5k charges. Then for ranged, I've taken full black d'hide, the accumulator, and a magic shortbow imbued. As ammunition, I've taken rune arrows. If you prefer the crossbow over the shortbow, you can use the crossbow if you use broad bolts or above. Personally, I prefer to use the shortbow imbued because I have the feeling that I'm doing more damage with the shortbow than I'm doing with the crossbow, but this is just personal preference. Supply wise, you need to take 1 ranging potion and 1 prayer potion. I found 1 prayer potion sufficient as I have 77 prayer. You should balance these potions out for yourself a bit. What do you need? What don't you need? I've taken 2 anti-poisons to counter the effect of Venom. Lastly, I've taken 2 rings of recoil, so be sure to check your ring of recoil before going to the shrine, because if you run out of charges and your recoil breaks, you will take a lot of damage from the snakelins and you won't be able to finish your Zulrah kill. For food, I've taken my best food, Manta Rays and Caramons as combo food. Zulrah can hit up to 41 or 42 with his range attacks, so if you're unlucky and you're taking a lot of damage, you can counter the 41 damages easily by just combo eating your Manta Ray Shark with your Caramon actually. Also, you need some teleportation matches to get there and to leave the shrine. I've chosen the house tablet. You can take a dueling ring to go to the free for all portal. And I've taken the quest key because I have completed all the quests and I can use the fairy rings to get there. Also, I've taken the rune pouch. It saves me 1 extra inventory spot that I can fill up with food actually. If, however, you do have some better gear for some of the slots, you can just swap it out. I've just chosen this setup to show you that with very basic gear you can also complete Zulrah. I found this the minimal setup that I needed to complete Zulrah after knowing the rotations, of course. Also, one note that I want to give is that if you're not that comfortable in switching four ways, which I do with this setup, you can easily leave out the Black Dragonite or the ranged gear that you have, and just take the weapon and the accumulator to switch that up. This way you'd only have a two-way switch. You will take probably some more damage, but it will make it more easy for you to learn the rotations. So if you want that, just do that. Now let's have a look at the second setup. You'll see that the alternative method is actually quite similar to the first method. Only things that I switched out is the Trident of the Seas. It is quite a high requirement for early Ironman. You need 87 Slayer, and you need to have got a Kraken Toss and have the luck that it drops you a Trident. But the reason that I want to show it is because with the Trident you can switch out your spellbooks to the Lunar Spellbook, and you can take the runes to cast the spell Cure Me. By doing this you can actually leave your anti-poisons in the bank. You're not bound to the amount of anti-poisons. Also you can bring some extra food to the kill. And you can actually just use Cure Me to counter the effect of Venom. If you do Cure Me the first time when you're venomed, you will become poisoned again, and if you do it for a second time, you will not be venomed or poisoned at all. Actually, it's quite similar to drinking one sip of an anti-poison, but the difference is you can bring way much more runes than you can bring anti-poisons to a kill, so it's quite ideal to bring it. You can do it more times than you can drink anti-poisons, and if you don't want to take damage from the poison or the venom, you can use the Cure Me spell. So the advantage over the first method is actually just here the Trident and the fact that you can use the Cure Me spell. For the rest, I have kept the setup the same, so low defense again you can switch out some of the gear. If you have better gear, just switch it out. It will make the kills more easy. So those are the two setups that I've chosen for. First one, very basic, using Ivan's Blast, and the second one, using the Trident of the Seas and the Lunar Spellbook. Finally, to end my guide, I have recorded one kill with each setup. I've speeded up the clips and I've added them to the end of the guide. In this way you can view an entire Zulrah kill with each of the setups. I've not taken into account the rotations, but it's just a frame of reference so that you can see how it can be done, and you can have an overview of all the things that I've said, like how to counter the mechanics, what are the different attack styles and such things. So enjoy!
You're a rolling stone, but I'm a cannonball.
Thanks so much for watching my guide. I hope you liked it. If you did so, please leave a like. If you have some comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. It would help me a lot. Also, feel free to give some suggestions or some thoughts about the guide. And I hope you enjoy your first time killing Zulrah. Cheers!